Hey, welcome back to Ping Pong Flicks. My name is Chris Wong. This weekend has been a whirlwind of tweets and social media has gone nuts over all this Justice League reactions. Okay, the social media, as you know, embargo has lifted, and so anybody can pretty much tweet about Justice League, what they have seen, potential spoilers here, as there's been some showings on Saturday as well. So please be aware, as you anywhere you go, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you could potentially come down to a spoiler. There could be some people out there who would put it in the comments of something that's not even related to Justice League. So just please be aware of that if you need to get off the internet. But if you can't, I just want to do this little video. This is for the people who are very concerned with Rotten Tomatoes. Ultimately, it's what my opinions are. If when I go into the movie, and if I love it, then I love it, and nobody can change that. Nobody can take that away from me. If you go into a movie, you judge it for yourself. You know that Rotten Tomatoes score, that's wrong. You know, it's not the way and that you perceive it, then that's fine. That's great. That's awesome for you guys. It's awesome for me. But there are quite a few of you who just want to see you have to see a good Rotten Tomatoes score. You need to see that fresh tomato, or you're very concerned about how Rotten Tomatoes does about their business by collecting all these critic scores, and you're concerned about what do these critics think about this movie, and how would that affect the film, affect the Yelp version of the movie world, and which is Rotten Tomatoes. And as you know, Rotten Tomatoes, there is a percentage, yes, and there is an actual average rating, yes, but it's really come down to either fresh or rotten, or even certified fresh is like the top tier, and then fresh, and then rotten. So even though there's some percentages and things like that, but we live in a time world now where we look at that, and if it's not, even it's like almost 60% Rotten Tomatoes, they call it rotten, even though it's 60%, even though it's like 65 or 66%, fresh tomato. They feel like that's an A, so it's like an A and an F. There is nothing in between, and that's kind of the world we live in here. But there are a lot of people who are concerned about that, and rightfully so, because there are a lot of general audience, the general populace out there who look at Rotten Tomatoes like a Yelp site, and they just want to see a fresh tomato. They worked hard throughout the week. They made all that money, and they just want to have a good time. They don't want to go to a rotten movie, and they base their opinions on that, and that's fine. That's that type of people. I'm not saying that's what you should do or what I should do. So this video is mainly for the people who are concerned about this phenomenon that's called Rotten Tomatoes. The phenomenon of Rotten Tomatoes, who collects all these critic scores and aggregates it and makes a general score out of them. So this is for you guys. The Justice League buzz, Rotten Tomatoes actually put this out on their editorial, is that it's not perfect, but it's fun and entertaining. And I went through, you can go to my other video that I called with Twitter reactions. And so the general consensus is that it's good. It's a good movie. It's fine. People love it and like it because it's fun. The characters work. The downsides are the story's kind of choppy. It's kind of rushed. The bad guy is terrible. The story is not quite developed, but they look past that and says, but this was a good movie. I had fun. I was entertained. It was funny. There are a lot of character chemistry that works very well. The team works very well. So that's the point in most of this general consensus of what these critics have said. And you can see in here there are some of these are actually really critics. Fox, Fandango, Cinema Blend, Slash Film, IGN, Mashables even on here. So there's a collection of here, and there's going to be a lot more coming out as more people go out and see this. More critics be able to screen it. So be advised that this could change entirely. But for right now, if you take a collection of like 10 people and about 9 out of 10 people are saying this is a good movie, this is positive, then that's good. That's really good. But a lot of people are concerned about how when they're saying these things, it seems very negative. You draw yourselves to the negative parts of that tweet without overlooking the positive parts. For me, I automatically see that's mostly positive and with some little gripes here and there. And those gripes I had mentioned. It's the story, the character development, the villain is weak. Okay, that, like everybody knows right now, is that is typical of all Marvel films. Okay, a lot of those films, the story not too good, the villain terrible, and the character development could be a little work done, especially on those larger team movies. But what they're saying that's positive for Justice League is the character interaction. The interaction between the conversations they have, the dialogue, the things that they play off of each other, the way the team chemistry works. And that seems to work fine. One movie does have something like that. And I want to go back to Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, because this is the more recent one. And I want to say there's a trend here that's going on with these critics, top critics, all these different people here, is that most of them mainly, they gave it a fresh score, or at least a higher score, or they told Rotten Tomatoes that I rated fresh, or Rotten Tomatoes look at those reviews and sees it as overly more positive than negative, so they automatically earn a fresh tomato. And I was told that was kind of how it worked from Rotten Tomatoes staff last year when I emailed out. The good thing about that is this: if you're concerned about Justice League's Rotten Tomatoes score, if you're concerned about what critics think about this, the trend seems to be that as long as the film has witty dialogue, as long as the film has great character chemistry, character interaction, as long as the film seamless, linear, and very easy to understand, this movie will be rated more towards the fresh side. There's some people here. I want to pull a few people here. Let's see. It's Christina Kuntz from stuff.co something. She says, this is just a summary, but if you go into for review, go ahead. I've read it. But this is the gist of it. Is that at times there's a bit too much going on in that story. And it starts to feel like maybe we're just being set up for Volume 3. But so what if we are? Fun is the name of the game here, and Volume 2 has it in spades. So she forgo story. She forgo how complex the movie seemed to be for her. And she had fun. And so even with all those little negative idiosyncrasies, her score was 4 out of 5. It got a fresh tomato. This person, Sarah from Laney Gossip, the neon color palette, the classic rock soundtrack, cuts to Drax and Mantis being funny. All of this works to keep Volume 2 from feeling heavy or overburdened. So it's funny, it makes it light, it's not as dark and downer, and be such a huge downer. So that made it more fresh than rotten. Matthew Toomey from ABC Radio Brisbane. The story isn't as strong as this time around, but these characters have won me over with their charm and spirit. Again, the story is not strong in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but these characters, the way they interact, the way they work together, their charm, their spirit, their funness, that worked him over and overlooked all those little negative things about the story, and it gave it a fresh tomato. This part pretty much sums it best. Jim Judy from Screen It. It's enjoyable and entertaining enough to earn a recommendation. I just wish the basic plot was as good as the characters. That pretty much sums it up. There's a lot in here. You can go ahead and you can also look at other Marvel films. Thor Ragnarok, for instance. It's that what seems to be what critics crave for these type of movies, especially pure comic book movies. Logan was a little bit different. That had less costumes. That was more about the drama of it, the darkness of it. And so that works more like a Western rather than an actual superhero comic book type blockbuster film. So Guardians Galaxy 2, Thor Ragnarok, all these other movies, Spider-Man Homecoming, they love the interaction. They love the wittiness. They love the fun, action, non-stop, fast-paced type of stories. Character interaction. So if you look at the Justice League buzz again, For Terry Schwartz, IGN Movies, I am genuinely happy to report Justice League is a lot of fun. It's not perfect and it has its problem, but does a job of making you care about these characters as a team by its end. It's also very funny. Justice League is clunky and even as hell, but it also gets the characters right and has a lot of fun along the way. When it's over, DC's vision for these heroes going forward will make sense. It's very small but very vital step forward. I dug it. Even this person, Mashable. Justice League is fine. It's more coherent and less idiosyncratic than Batman v Superman, which I love, so make of that what you will, and tries very hard to lighten up on the gloom and doom of the DC universe. There are jokes and everything. Even Peter Soretta. Justice League is better than expected, but not a home run. The interaction between the teams is a lot of fun. The film sends the DCU in a hopeful direction in line where the brand should be headed. Justice League is okay. It's fun. The characters are enjoyable. Cast has good chemistry together. I want to see more of them down the line. It looks like Snyder film, but sounds and plays like a Whedon one. It has a lot of issues though, but the good news is that the Justice League entertains. If Batman v Superman turned you off, then consider Justice League a palate cleanser. So just looking at these reviews, it's very similar. Okay, very similar, and a lot of people can say that yes, the Justice League have managed to make a movie that is along the same lines as a Marvel film, and you can take that as a positive or a negative. That's up to you. For people who are concerned of what Rotten Tomatoes is going to put out, remember, if the balance between say what a critic says that the fun and the entertainment and the character interactions and how the chemistry works together outweighs the rest of the stuff, what it seems to be in all the other films, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Thor Ragnarok, it seems to outweigh some of the negativity of not a very good villain, not a very developed villain, you know, and all these other factors that what Justice League seems to kind of share. But the fun, the character interaction outweighed all that, and it was able to get a fresh tomato score. I'm thinking you may be looking at over 70% on a fresh tomato here. I don't know yet because has only been a few of these press who actually are part of the Rotten Tomatoes, who are being collected by Rotten Tomatoes. Not all of them are, but they have the reviews on there. And if 9 out of 10 say it seems to be like a 90% positive, then that's almost a 90% fresh tomato with that small group. Of course, it expands out by Monday, and then we'll find out by Wednesday what it really is. But to me, it just seems like because of these little trends that these critics are looking for in these types of comic book movies will outweigh the little negative aspects that they're pulling from this movie. And whether you think that's a negative or not, that's not the point here. It's whether they think it's a negative or not. So if they do believe that the fun, the characters, the funniness, the wittiness, whatever that makes them happy actually outweighed all the other little things that we're looking at, the negativities that they're calling out, that 3 out of 5 is actually a 5 out of 5 in what Rotten Tomatoes look at. Because remember I said 3 out of 5. It could be 2.5. Like it could be 2 out of 5. But if the things that they show in terms of fun and everything, and that's what they believe it should be something that everybody watches, if it's deserved to be watched in the theaters, they'll just give it a fresh tomato. They'll just tell Rotten Tomatoes, make it fresh. Or Rotten Tomatoes look at that little review and says, well, what do you think? Do you want them to watch this in movies? Do you think they'll have fun in the movies? They're going to say yes, and they'll just give it a fresh tomato. Because it doesn't matter about story. It sometimes doesn't even matter about CGI. It doesn't matter about the villain at all. It just matters if they had a fun, entertaining time and they love the characters. Hopefully that will give you a little bit more ease as whether Justice League will come out positive or negative, whether it's going to be a rotten or fresh. Alright, well, what do you guys think about that? And let me know down below. I'll try to limit myself on Twitter because I do not want to get spoiled. Thursday is so far away. It doesn't look like I'm getting advanced screening. So anyway, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.